So now we are moving to the unit 2. So the unit 2 is basically the steam boilers. We are going to study the steam boilers. So in this steam boilers chapter, so we are going to cover the course outcome. So what we are going to cover in the course outcome 2 is we are classifying the steam boilers, and we are also explaining the steam boilers and boiler mountings and accessories. So these four things we are going to cover in the outcome 2, that is in unit 2. Right. So in this unit 2, so these are the topics we are going to cover. So first one, we are going to cover the introduction part, then applications of steam boilers, functions of a steam boilers, classifications of steam boilers, selection of a steam boilers. So first, introduction. So in the part of introduction, a steam boiler or a steam generator is a closed vessel in which water is heated, vaporized, and converted into a steam at a pressure higher than atmospheric pressure. Andre steam boiler andre enu? So it is a closed vessel. It is one closed vessel irutte. So in that closed vessel, so you are taking some known quantity of water, then that water you are gets converting it into a steam. So adana steam agi convert ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಿ. ಅದು steam ಹೆಂಗಿರಬೇಕಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ the pressure of that steam is more than the atmospheric pressure. When the pressure of the steam is more than atmospheric pressure, then only you can use that steam for different applications. So otherwise it is not possible, right? So this steam boiler is a closed vessel. So it is a closed vessel in which water is heated, vaporized. First you are going to heat the water. After heating, you are vaporizing it, then it gets converted into a steam. So the word how we used is similarly the conditions of steam. The conditions of steam is wet steam, dry steam, and superheated steam. Initially, when you are supplying heat, so the water absorbed some amount of heat. So that is called as internal energy, and also so that is the sensible heat. Initially it keeps on absorbing the heat. You will not observe any bubbles formation or the boiling of the water takes place initially. Still you are supplying heat. So then where the initial supplied heat has gone, then so that is absorbed by the water molecule. So that itself we call it as the internal energy. So that is heated initially. Then later on, when it reaches the boiling temperature, or we can say the saturation temperature, so then it starts vaporizing, it starts evaporating. So then, so at that point the temperature remains constant. The temperature being the constant, still you are supplying the heat, so it keeps on evaporating, right? Then later on, once the complete evaporation or vaporization completes, then there is a superheated steam is going to form. So that is converted into a steam, that too at a pressure higher than atmospheric pressure, right? So that is the definition of the steam boiler. There is one more definition I have given here. What is that definition? That definition is according to IBR Act 1923. So IBR means what? Indian Boiler Regulation. So according to Indian Boiler Regulation, the definition of a steam boiler is different. A steam boiler means any closed vessel exceeding 22.75 liters in capacity and which is used expressively for generating steam under pressure. So this is the definition of boiler according to IBR, Indian Boiler Regulation. So either prakara, this is according to IBR also, it is a closed vessel exceeding 22.75 liters in capacity. So exceeding means a boiler closed vessel enirutho, a closed vessel 22.75 liters kinta jasti neer capacity hiduvanta tagirbeku, right? And which is used expressively for generating steam under pressure. So you are going to generate the steam in that closed vessel, right? So if you are generating the steam in the closed vessel, then that closed vessel we call it as the boiler. So he used, what do you mean by IBR, Indian Boiler Regulation andre eniga? So IBR, the means it is a IBR are a set of standard, it is a set of standards that regulate the materials, design, construction, inspection and testing of boilers, right? And boiler components for compliance by the manufacturers and users of boilers in India. So ನೀವು ಏನೇ ಒಂದು ಬಾಯ್ಲರ್ ಅನ್ನ ಮ್ಯಾನುಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಚರ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗಿತ್ತಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, so there are certain set of standards and rules to be followed. So ಅದೊಂದು ರೂಲ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಅದನ್ನ ಯಾರು ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ this is some government. So government body will be there, that is called as Indian Boiler Regulation. So there is a one body or there is a committee. ಸೊ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತಾರೆ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತಾರೆ, ಆ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಪ್ರಕಾರನೇ ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಮ್ಯಾನುಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಚರಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು. ನಾಟ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ದ ಬಾಯ್ಲರ್ಸ್, ಯು ಟೇಕ್ ಎನಿ ಮೆಕ್ಯಾನಿಕಲ್ components, all should be manufactured with respect to certain standards only, right? So here the boilers, mainly the boilers are following the IBR standards, that is called as Indian Boiler Regulations, right? So Indian IBR means what? Materials ಏನ್ ಸೆಲೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಿ ಬಾಯ್ಲರ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ, ಮಟೀರಿಯಲ್ ಸೆಲೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಕೂಡ ಆ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡರ್ಡ್ ರೆಗ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಿರುತ್ತೋ ಅದನ್ನೇ ತಗೋಬೇಕು. ಡಿಸೈನ್, ಕನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಷನ್, ಇನ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಷನ್, ಟೆಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಇವು ಎಲ್ಲನೂ ಕೂಡ ಅದರ ಪ್ರಕಾರನೇ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಯಾರಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಯಾರು ಅದನ್ನ ಮ್ಯಾನುಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಚರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಮ್ಯಾನುಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಚರರ್ಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಫಾಲೋ ದ ಸೇಮ್ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಇವನ್ ದ ಯೂಸರ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಬಾಯ್ಲರ್ಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ, ಅದನ್ನ ಯಾರು ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೋ ಅವರು ಕೂಡ ದೇ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಫಾಲೋ ದಿ IBR ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡರ್ಡ್ಸ್, ರೈಟ್? ಸೊ this IBR standards, this given the definition of boiler as a steam boiler means any closed vessel exceeding 22.75 liters in capacity and which is used expressively for generating the steam under pressure, right? Then next we'll see what is the steam generated is used for the following purposes. So of course there is a boiler is there, you have understood the definition of boiler and you have generated the steam in the boiler. Then what for that steam is used? So where you are using that steam? So for generating the power in thermal power plant, right? That steam is used for the power generation in the thermal power plant and also for heating a building in cold weather. If there is a cold weather is there, then that steam is also used to heat the building, right? And for process work in industries, the process work in industries, in some food industries, chemical industries, then next sugarcane industries. So in these industries also you can use the steam as for the processing of the activities in the industries. Then what are the applications of these steam boilers? So the operating steam engines, the steam generated in the boilers, you can use it for the steam engine operations. So with the help of that steam, you can run the steam engines, right? So the engines which are run by the steam, those are called as steam engines, right? The next, operating steam turbines. So the steam turbines, the turbines also you can run the turbines, so with the help of a steam. And also you can operate reciprocating pumps. So industrial process work in chemical engineering. So chemical engineering, industrial process is also carried out with the help of this steam. Then for producing hot water required to be supplied to room in very cold areas. So then in thermal power stations, the heat content of steam is large and thus it is suitable for process heating in many industries like sugar mills, textile mills, dairy industry, and also in chemical industries. In these industries, you can use the steam. Then you can see what are the classifications of steam boiler now. The classifications of the steam boiler. According to the contents in the tube, according to the contents in the tube, fire tube boiler, water tube boiler. Then according to the position of the furnace, internally fired boilers, externally fired boilers. So where your so the classifications of the steam boiler. So first one is according to the contents in the tube. So fire tube boiler or water tube boiler. So fire tube boiler means The fire is inside the tube and water flows around it. The water tube boiler means water is inside it and fire flows around it. So this is a fire tube boiler and water tube boiler. The second, according to the position of the furnace. So it is internally fired boilers or externally fired boilers. So that means the fuel burns inside the boiler or the fuel burns outside the boiler. So that is the one. According to the axis of the cell. Axis of the cell means it is horizontal boiler or vertical boiler. Boiler may be a horizontal or it may be a vertical one. Then according to the number of tubes, it is a single tube boiler or multi-tube boiler. Means a boiler ಒಳಗಡೆ ಒಂದೇ ಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಅದು ಒಂದೇ ಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ವಾಟರ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, or there are multiple tubes, ಆ multiple tubes ಅಲ್ಲಿನೂ ವಾಟರ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, right? So based on the tubes how you are used in the boiler. So if you are using only single tube, it is single tube boiler. If you are using multiple, then it is called as multiple tube boilers. Then according to the method of circulation of water and steam. So if you are circulating the water inside the boiler naturally, so natural with zero pressure, if you want to supply the water with zero pressure, so means if you are making some overhead tank, ಮನೆಯೊಳಗೆ ಕೂಡಿಸಿರ್ತಿರಲ್ಲ, overhead tank ಕುಂದಿರಿಸಿ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ನಳದೊಳಗೆ ನೀರು ಬರೋಂಗ್ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತಿರಲ್ಲ, so ಆ ತರ ಐತೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ that is called as natural circulation. Water flows naturally, you are not applying any force to it, you are not using any pump. So that is natural circulation. If you are using any pump or any force to circulate the water inside the boiler, then that is called as a forced circulation boiler, right? According to the use, it is a stationary boilers or it is a mobile boilers. It is used. If it is a fixed, the boiler is fixed, so on the side, then it is stationary boiler. If the boiler is moving, suppose if you want to take it to anywhere you want, then that is called as a mobile boilers. Then according to the sources of the heat, how the heat is generated in the, so that heat you need it to supply to the water. So how that heat is generated? So if you are generating that heat by using solid fuels, so it is a solid fuel boiler. If you are generating that heat by a liquid fuel, then it is called as a liquid fuel boiler. Then if you are using gas fuel, then that is gaseous fuel. If it is electrical energy, then electrical energy boiler. Then nuclear fuels, then it is called as a nuclear energy boiler. Then what are the functions of the steam boiler? So these are the two important functions of steam boiler. So to transfer the heat produced by the combustion of fuel to water to generate the steam. So whatever heat is transferred, here the heat is transfer takes place. So what is the function of the boiler? The boiler is, in the boiler you are transferring the heat. You are transferring the heat to the water. How you are transferring heat to the water? How actually the heat is generated? Heat is generated because you are burning some fuels. So from the hidden energy in the fuel, so that is supplied to the water. So again water gets heated, then that gets evaporated and it forms the steam. So the transfer of heat produced by the combustion of fuel to water to generate the steam here. So now to transfer heat, this is a one. And the next one is to supply the steam at the required constant pressure with its quality either dry or superheated steam. So the supply steam at required constant pressure. So you can also supply the steam, means the boiler will supply the steam at required constant pressure. So with its quality either dry or superheated steam. The next, selection of a boiler. So the selection of type and size of a boiler, steam boiler, depends upon the following factors. So these are the factors to be considered in the selection of a boiler. How are you going to select the boiler for your particular applications? So there are so many factors, these factors to be considered in the selection of a boiler. The first factor is the working pressure and the power required. So the boiler ಎಷ್ಟು ಪ್ರೆಷರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ವರ್ಕ್ ಆಗಬೇಕು ಮತ್ತೆ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಔಟ್ಪುಟ್ ಪವರ್ ಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ. So based on that you need to select the boiler. Then the geographical position of the powerhouse. Geographical position. So where you are building your powerhouse. So whether if it is a hydroelectric power station, so it should be built in between two hills. The dam is built in between two hills. ಸೊ 2 ಗುಡ್ಡದ ಮಧ್ಯೆ ನಾವು ಡ್ಯಾಮ್ ಕಟ್ಟಿರ್ತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಅಲ್ಲೇ ನೀವು ಏನ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಬಾಯ್ಲರ್ ಅನ್ನ ಫಿಕ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ಜಿಯೋಗ್ರಾಫಿಕಲ್ ಪೊಸಿಷನ್. ಸೊ ವೇರ್ ಯು ಆರ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಪೊಸಿಷನ್ ಯುವರ್ ದ ಬಾಯ್ಲರ್, ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ವೆರಿ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್. The rate at which the steam is to be generated. So at how much rate, so ಎಷ್ಟು ಫಾಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ steam generate ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗಿದೆ ನಿಮಗೆ. So what is the rate of it? So ಅದನ್ನ ನೀವು ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ that is also one of the factor in the selection of the steam boiler. Then the floor area available. If the floor area available, the floor area means ಎಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಅದನ್ನ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಲೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿರೋ, ಎರೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿರೋ ಆ ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇದೆಯೋ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇದೆಯೋ. The floor area is also important in the selection of the steam boiler. Then accessibility of repair and inspection. So ಅದನ್ನ ನೀವು ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ರಿಪೇರ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಮತ್ತು ಇನ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಅನುಕೂಲ ಆಗುವಂಗೆ ಇರಬೇಕು. The repair and inspection, these two processes are very important. So ಇದು ಎರಡಕ್ಕೂ ಅದು ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಐತೋ ಇಲ್ಲೋ. So that is also one of the factors to be considered in the selection of the steam boiler. Then comparative initial and installation cost. The initial cost and installation cost, these two are very important. So the initial cost means in the construction of the boiler, how much the money you are spending, and also ಅದು ಮ್ಯಾನುಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಚರ್ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ತಂದು ನಿಮ್ ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಾಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಲ್ಲ, ಆ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಾಲೇಷನ್ ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಎಷ್ಟಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ವಿತ್ ಇನ್ ಯುವರ್ ಬಜೆಟ್ ಆರ್ ನಾಟ್. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ವೆರಿ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್, ರೈಟ್? So the investment is very important. So based on the investment, these two costs are very important. The next one is erection facilities available. So erection facilities available means ನೀವು ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಅದನ್ನ ಹೋಗಿ ಎರೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿರೋ, ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಾಲೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಂತಿರೋ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಾಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ. ಸೊ ನೀವು ಅದನ್ನ ಎರೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಫೆಸಿಲಿಟೀಸ್ ಅವೈಲೇಬಲ್ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಅದನ್ನ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಾಲೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿರೋ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಕ್ರೇನ್ ಆಗ್ಲಿ ಬೇರೆ ವೆಹಿಕಲ್ಸ್ ಆಗಲಿ ಅದನ್ನ ತಗೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೋ ಇಲ್ಲೋ. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಫೆಸಿಲಿಟಿ ಇಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ವೆರಿ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್. ದ ಪ್ರೊಬೆಬಲ್ ಲೋಡ್ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟರ್. ದ ಪ್ರೊಬೆಬಲ್ ಲೋಡ್ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲೋ ಒಂದ್ ಕಡೆ ನೀವು ಥರ್ಮಲ್ ಪವರ್ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ ಅನ್ನ ಸೆಟಪ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬಾಯ್ಲರ್ ನ ಫಿಕ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತೀರಿ. ಅದು ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಏನು ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತೀರಿ, ಅದು ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ರಿಟರ್ನ್ಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೋ ಇಲ್ಲೋ. ದಟ್ ರಿಟರ್ನ್ಸ್ ಡಿಪೆಂಡ್ಸ್ ಆನ್ ಯುವರ್ ಲೋಡ್ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟರ್. ಸೊ ನೀವು ಜನರೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದಂತಹ ಪವರ್ ನ ಪರ್ಚೇಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೂ ಕೂಡ ಸೊ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ಬೇಕು ಅಷ್ಟು ಲೋಡ್ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಇದೋ ಇಲ್ಲೋ, ಅಷ್ಟು ಲೋಡ್ಸ್ ನಾವು ಮಾಡಿದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಇಲ್ಲೋ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್. ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಪ್ರೊಬೆಬಲ್ ಲೋಡ್ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಇಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಒನ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಸೆಲೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಸ್ಟೀಮ್ ಬಾಯ್ಲರ್. ದೆನ್ ದ ಫ್ಯೂಲ್ ಅಂಡ್ ವಾಟರ್ ಅವೈಲಬಿಲಿಟಿ. ದ ಫ್ಯೂಲ್ ಮತ್ತು ವಾಟರ್ ಅವೈಲಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಎರಡೂ ಇರ್ಬೇಕು ನಿಮ್ಗೆ. ಸೊ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಬೋತ್ ಆರ್ ರಿಕ್ವೈರ್ಡ್ ಫಾರ್ ದಿ ಸ್ಟೀಮ್ ಬಾಯ್ಲರ್. ದ ಫ್ಯೂಲ್ ಈಸ್ ರಿಕ್ವೈರ್ಡ್ ಟು ಜನರೇಟ್ ದ heat. So the water is required because from the water only you are generating the steam. So the availability of the fuel and waters are very important. Then operating and maintenance cost. The operating, the maintenance, these two costs are also important in the selection of the power plant. So thank you. This is the first session of Unit 2.